Hello, welcome to this your channel of the Beta Eurofan. That's me. It seemed that the Orange Nation was going to step aside after all the controversy that happened with the disqualification of Just Klein just before the grand final, something that had not happened in the contest ever in its history, with this option being qualified as strong and disproportionate by the broadcaster all the time in the light of all the subsequent events that ultimately proved them right. It will be unknown what could have happened if Just were able to perform in the grand final, which surely would have established a quite different result in the ranking, being one of the big favorites before his unfair disqualification. Even so, Netherlands will get satisfied with the changes that started to be implemented from the EBU's group reference ahead of future editions, so a situation like the one happened during the last edition never happens again. Now we will see who will be the artist that will have the chance of waving the Dutch colors in Basel. Let's go! For today's episode, I'm going to review the Dutch entry for Eurovision 2025, which will be represented by singer Claude with the song C'est La Vie, which in English translates as That's Life. And just like that, with all that implies the unpredictable character of this earthly life, the country makes an exercise of resilience by presenting to one of the big revelations of the Dutch musical scene. Without further delay, let's move on with the review. First of all, we are going to take a look to his biography and career before him embarking in his Eurovision adventure in Switzerland. Claude Kienberg, mostly well known by his name, is a Congolese Dutch pop chanson singer and songwriter coming from the Democratic Republic of Congo and currently living in the coastal city of Enkhuizen, located in northern Netherlands. His mother will emigrate to Netherlands with him and his brothers, being 9 years old by then, living initially in an asylum center in Alkmaar, and later they will move to the aforementioned city of Enkhuizen, where he will have his high school studies and later study college studies in hotel management, leaving them shortly after. But himself and his family won't discover Eurovision shortly after arriving to the country. In fact, Claude himself relates that his first memories from the contest date from 2014, when they saw the then victory achieved by Conchita Wurst for Austria during the edition of the contest that took place in Copenhagen, Denmark, and since then the contest has become an annual family tradition. With the time, he will start to develop a wide interest for music, starting to participate since 2017 in junior talent shows in his city, and 2 years later in 2019 he will become much more noticed with his participation in the ESC season of The Voice Kids, although he will be eliminated during the battles phase. That, however, did not diminish his determination, so much so that the following year he won the casting show Are You Next, which will get a contract deal with a local record label. It was the opportunity to pursue a career as a musical artist. Claude will start to get surrounded by renowned songwriters in the Dutch musical scene to start working in the tracks that will be part of his debut studio album. Then he releases his debut official single as an artist in late 2022, with which he tops the musical charts of the country, consolidating himself very quickly as an emerging artist. It will be followed by the release of more singles throughout his last 2 years, which eventually will take part of his debut studio album as well, which will be finally released in November of last year after a promotional tour by different cities in Netherlands and Belgium, as well as showcase performances in many shows of the Dutch television. Musically speaking, his Stromae and Louis Capaldi are his main musical influences. In fact, he is commonly referred as the Dutch version of Stromae, and even he was about to be the opening act for the Belgian singer in 2023 during his European tour by then, but due to health issues from Stromae himself, his scheduled concerts in Netherlands and other cities had to be cancelled. Normally he writes his songs in French and Dutch, which is very evident in his first musical work, although he does not discard the doing in other languages, particularly in English, in an attempt to reach a wider audience. It is true that Claude is actually on the peak of his musical career that is just beginning, until he gets an opportunity like no other by becoming the Dutch representative at the contest he has been following since his arrival to the country with his family. Let's see then how his Eurovision experience begins. In general, Netherlands is usually one of the first countries on confirming participation and starting the process for the selection of its representative, but this time was quite different. With the decision suffered by the disqualification of Jews on the last edition, there were not any mood in the delegation to the point that they were seriously considering withdrawing from the contest with all that happened. Even the EBU granted an exceptional extension to the Dutch public broadcaster until early last November to confirm their participation, until they announced that they will move forward with it days before the extension deadline in late last October. It was known initially that the broadcaster offered another opportunity to choose full representative country once again at the contest, but despite campaigning himself for going to Basel in many of his gigs, he finally opted to decline the invitation for the second year in a row, alleging not feeling himself totally recovered and prepared to do it in proper conditions, which is totally understandable. In the end, it was a fact that affected him personally very much, but I'm sure that once he is on mood to try it again, he will dare to the fullest. With the return of Jules discarded as a first option, there was the task to find the artist that could take the challenge by opening the submission period for the Dutch artists and songwriters who wanted to take part in the process, being able to submit 3 proposals each and closing it by late last November. After the deadline, it was known that 331 proposals were received according to the broadcaster, a quite low number compared to last year, taking into account the short and late submission period this time. This will be reviewed by an expert panel appointed by the broadcaster to make a list with 6 shortlisted acts that will advance to an audition round to take the decision. Then in last mid-December, it was announced the selection of Claude as the Dutch representative that will travel to Basel, while the song with its accompanying official music video will be released in late last February, making tribute to his own life in a song. Now we will analyze with full detail about this proposal that he will perform in the contest very shortly. The melody is a dance pop track which initially begins with a simple instrumentation with just a piano, then going to a more dynamic and hectic rhythm sings the first chorus, which stimulates you and makes you dance at the same time, finishing with the same line instrumentation by the outro. Claude's voice has many shades throughout the track, starting with a soft phrasing in the first verse, increasing its power little by little to later make an explosion in intensity for the first chorus, which is very catchy by the way, having a very dramatic climax during the bridge, then later going back to the soft phrasing at the end of the track. I have to say that by listening to the song and his vocal style, the reference to Stromae are undeniable, which is not strange at all by being one of the main influences of Claude in his musical work, as I have commented before. Regarding the lyrics, it has been written in French and English by Claude himself, together with other Dutch songwriters and producers, which are part of his working team, and then stands out 2 distinctive features. In one hand, it is the first time in all the participations of Netherlands today that the French language appears in a Dutch entry for the contest, while in the other hand, it will be also the first time that Claude sings in English with a song written by himself. It is to stand out as well that one of the songwriters, Arnold Kraftman, already had a previous experience with Eurovision by being one of the songwriters for the song The Dicta, performed by singer Steen, who represented Netherlands 3 years ago during the edition held in Turin, Italy. Talking about the context behind it, although it is easy to deduce from the song's title itself, Claude also describes it as a homage to his mother, which reinforces the references to Stromae and much more, and more specifically with the song Papa Ute, which is casually dedicated to his father, although from a different perspective in this case. It comes to attention that it is the second Dutch artist that gets inspired in the Belgian singer for the second year in a row, after just doing it with his proposal from last year. Claude himself has commented that his mother has been the main foundation in his life. From his childhood and his teenage years, she always taught him in find the good and positive in all life's experiences, even with its setbacks. Reading the lyrics more in detail, previously translated initially, you can see those contrasts that life itself has, describing showing how difficult and unpredictable can be. It has its ups and downs. It has unexpected twists like a roller coaster, sometimes bright, sometimes dark. But in the thread of all that represents the life, there's always the mother's melody, which we can understand as all those life lessons she had been giving him since he was a kid, aiming to emphasize the resilience during all the phases of our short existence. Taking into account all this commented previously, the message transmitted with the song is more than implicit. Linked to the deep context transmitted with the song, it was about to be seen as well how he has conveyed the message within it through the official music video. The plot begins seeing a boy in the living room of a house sitting on the floor in the front of the sofa, turning on the television set with the remote control, and for a few instants it is heard a short snippet of the song Rise Like a Phoenix by Conchita Wurst, implying that the boy will be a self-representation of Claude when he was little, and that dream with Eurovision while watching it through the screen, making a very clear reference to Stowe's first memories of him from the contest of that edition 11 years ago. Shortly after, the song begins while there is a change of scene with Claude in an abandoned restroom surrounded by many vines, starting to perform the first verse while he looks himself in one of the mirrors by the sinks. Initially, there are shots of the adult Claude from different angles, which alternate with shots of the child Claude in the living room while he notices that the lights at the living room are blinking, then standing on feet. Thereafter, both adult Claude and child Claude start to perform a sort of dance with their arms, probably with the idea of reflecting in a metaphorical way what it is described in that part of the verse preceding the chorus. By the chorus, the adult Claude turns his side and just two contemporary dancers are singing and doing a very energetic dance with the rhythm of the song with a very serious, intimidating expression in their faces. In some moment, he turns his side to the other side, noticing himself confused by the situation, and then there are four more contemporary dancers in addition to the two once previously seen before, following the same dance with the same intensity and attitude. These dancers will portray the emotions of Claude himself from his childhood by representing those inner demons with which he has been fighting in his mind, especially since he emigrated from his native country and during the time he lived as a refugee. For the second verse, the scene changes and now there is the adult Claude in a sort of studio where there are many interesting elements. First, we see that painting in the background with a landscape. As the shot is getting away, we can see the Claude in more detail, wearing a jacket in bright orange while he pours milk from a vessel in a bowl on a table with bread, as well as many tulips in a fake grass. Naturally, this scene blends the essence of both his native Congo, represented through the painting at the background, and Netherlands by representing himself like the famous painting of the milkmaid by the renowned Dutch artist Johannes Vermeer, adding the classical orange color that identifies the country in his jacket, and of course the tulips. In some moment, Claude takes off the jacket to walk and start dancing in a freestyle, while the dancers join him from behind, then disappearing for the scene for a few instants before reaching the second chorus while Claude keeps dancing and reappearing again with the second chorus. All of them perform a choreography together with Claude, keeping that same energetic dynamic, standing at a moment in which he interacts with two of the dancers until they suddenly disappear from his sight. The scene changes once again, now seeing the dancers inside an abandoned room while resuming the same danceable and energetic dynamic, although in this case Claude is watching them with a more serene expression, which alternate with two brief shots loaded with a lot of meaning. The first one with the other Claude staring himself like the child Claude he was inside the mirror, probably in a retrospection of his past and present time, and the second one with the hands of all the dancers on Claude's head pushing him down, once again representing that fight with those inner demons that occasionally overwhelm his mind and crumble his mood. During the bridge, the other Claude is seen dancing in a freestyle in the landing on a residential building, which alternate with shots of the child Claude that is also dancing inside the living room of the house, and some more of the other Claude with the dancers in the same landing doing very funny dances. implying in this case that he has managed to reconcile with his inner demons that now have evolved as friendly beings. With the song's outro, both other Claude and Claude are face to face in the same landing of before, doing the same dangles with their arms seen in the beginning, while the dancers watching from the other side of the landing or moving their heads to the rhythm of the song at the same time, closing the performance with the other Claude remaining alone in the landing. At the end of the music video, the shot gets away little by little, noticing that it is seen through the television set at the living room of the house where he's still the child Claude, with the image getting lost in some point, just remaining visual noise in the screen while he's staring intently while sitting at the floor at the living room until there is a moment in which the door of the house closes. Making a summary of the comments, the Dutch entry for this year is just fantastic. For me, it is a proposal that represents not only that resilience with which they remain present in the contest in a very symbolic way, despite the disqualification suffered in the last edition, but also a clear declaration in intent because it has everything. A very good song, a very good message, and a music video that it is a great visual artwork loaded with a lot of meaning. There is no doubt that they are making a huge bet with this proposal, and that is evident as well by being one of the big favorites to get the crystal microphone. Personally, I got fascinated with the song since the very beginning, and it does not only have entered in my playlist, but it is also one of my favorites for this year's edition. For the staging in Basel, it is known that he will be joined by an orchestral trio and two dancers, as it could be seen during the rehearsals, with Claude wearing an outfit in burgundy with pearl accessories on it, and also wearing a pearl necklace as well, so it is predicted that we will see at least part of the choreography that we saw previously with the music video. Before arriving to Switzerland, he had been promoting his entry mostly in Netherlands, being also the headliner at the Eurovision pre-party held annually in Amsterdam. While he is getting ready to give it all on the main stage of Basel in a few days, it is also known that he will be performing in the legendary Big Pop Festival that it is organized every year in the city of Landgraaf next June. Maybe his musical career could be just beginning, but as the way he goes, it won't take long to consolidate as one of the biggest artists in the continent, and that we will be hearing his name for a long time to come. This has been the Dutch proposal of this year for the contest. What do you think about it? Does it fascinate you like me, or it does not get much of your attention instead? In any case, let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure that the discussion will be quite interesting. And this is it for today's episode. Before I finish, don't forget to like this video if it has been of your taste. It will help me a lot by bringing me your support and helping this content reach more people. Subscribe to my channel, enable notifications by the bell, and find me through my social media. Take care and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.